camp. He actually became quite ill on the return journey, and it is debated whether he needed to be hauled along in a sledge. But Markham, the old-fashioned Victorian absentee leader of this trip, said that Shackleton would have died had Scott and Wilson not saved his life, etc., and also that Shackleton endangered the lives of Scott and Wilson. Anyway, won't dwell on that. So Shackleton got back a bit shook, I suppose is the word, and he was decided that maybe he should go back home. And he was sent home on the ship called the Morning, whilst the rest of them stayed behind. This is some of Wilson's illustrations. This is for a write-up about the Discovery Expedition. Superb paintings of emperor penguins. This is not all that clear, but this is so far they got. They're still on the Ross Ice Shelf and still had to go up the mountains. But Shackleton at this stage had an inlet named for him, which is nice. And they had, in the ship, gone quite a bit way over this way to the west. And again, just to give you an idea how far they've got, this is the three of them. Now, it's rather problems. After Shackleton left in 1903, it was discovered that the Scott's ship, the Discovery, actually couldn't move and was iced in. So two ships came down to try and rescue the Morning and, believe it or not, the Terra Nova, which returned with Scott some 10 years later. And eventually, they had to dynamite the ice, and the Discovery was freed, at which time Scott had already been having to think about having to abandon his ship, which would have been the end of his career. The Discovery is now preserved in Dundee. It's a very wonderful place to visit, and I've had the honour, Falcon invited me to the christening of one of his sons there a few years ago. All direct descendants of Captain Scott are christened using the ship's bell in Dundee in Scotland. Shackleton received this cigarette box from Scott, which sounds a bit posthumous, in remembrance, 1901, 1904, and a cousin of mine, one of Ina Shackleton's grandchildren, sold that for £30,000 recently. Anyway, there was maps produced, and this caused a bit of a stir. One of the maps, this is a letter to Stanford's, who are a great mapping place in London, wonderful shop to visit. I've just received your map, this is Captain Scott writing, just received your map of the Antarctic regions, and I observed that the farther south is marked Scott and Shackleton, an inscription which is not in accordance with any authoritative map published, etc., etc. So there's a bit of a boo-boo there. This is a ring that Shackleton gave one of the mates on the Morning on the trip home, and it didn't give Shackleton this idea, but when Shackleton got back, he married the daughter of an English solicitor from Kent, Emily Dorman, and they got married 9th of April 1904. They went on a honeymoon to Scotland, where Shackleton tried to play golf. And I don't know what the ball is doing there, or what's going on here. I don't think much of the swing, but I think his wife, Emily Dorman, was a far better golfer than Shackleton. And I can't imagine Shackleton crouching patiently over a ball on the green for very long, more than about 5 seconds. Anyway, if you want to celebrate Shackleton, go and play golf at Dornoch, which is still active. He then